Alright everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video with Fat Phil, and it's been a while since we've talked about Relic Delta. We did get the version 5 numbers. I'm going to shout out Egnard's I'm in a bunch of servers and stuff, but shout out to Egg for, he had a video this morning that I got to watch. He and I were kind of talking about that, and it's been a while since I've kind of covered the changes to the Relic Delta numbers, so I am going to share kind of my screen capture here where we're looking at those, and I want to kind of give my, we'll talk about kind of my reaction to where the numbers are. Do I feel they're final? I still kind of am firmly in this camp that, and I think a lot of other content creators who have been active in the beta, right, feel this way. While we think Relic Delta is probably a long-term mistake, it's coming into the game. And Egnard said this, I think, really beautifully, where he said, while I don't like Relic Delta and have shared my feelings with them, I'm committed to making the most of it because it's coming to the game whether I like it or not. So I'd rather take the time to make sure that it is causing as little harm to the community as possible. And that's the right mentality to have, guys. And that's why I really appreciate the work that he and the creators who are being active inside of the beta are doing. Because obviously, if you were just a part of the beta, but you're not actively testing, then you're not helping the community, and anything you say related to Relic Delta loses value. So with that said, guys, we're going to talk about these thresholds, going to talk about kind of some of my fears, but also, hey, they're, seeming to come down. So with that said, please like and subscribe, comment down below. I appreciate it, guys. I know I've been kind of absent. We've got a lot of stuff going on in the home front, a lot of stuff going on in the work front, and so I really appreciate everybody being understanding with me. You are the best. If you're ever interested, again, down below. More importantly, join the Discord, guys. Join the Discord, subscribe. That's the best thing you can do for this channel. I really appreciate it. So let's get in here and let's talk about some Relic Delta. All right, so right off the bat here, you got like the version 1 numbers, version 2, 3, 4, and 5. So when you look at the trend, what you see is that the 1 relic threshold, the 2 relic threshold, and now the 3 relic thresholds have not really changed. They've kind of found their place. They've found where they like them to be. Those numbers have not really moved. And now into version 5, we see they've adjusted both the 4 relic differential and the 5 relic differential. Again, I think that we're seeing, hey, if they feel confident with those numbers, it is what it is. Again, the wording I'm hearing from the beta community is that the numbers do seem a little bit scarier than they really are. While I've not been able to test them personally, I do trust a lot of what they're saying because I think they would be honest and tell us, yeah, this is ridiculous. The one area that I have asked about that is not yet been tested is Territory War. So before these numbers go live, they have been testing GAC Omicrons, but not Territory War Omicrons. And I hope that does get tested because there are teams that work in Territory Wars that are far different than their GAC variant. And just as an example, if I flip over to the game here, and we're going to flip back and forth a lot to this, screen capture. Think of a team like Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano. That Spectre team has 2 Territory War Omicrons active in Padawan Sabine and General Syndulla. Think about your Hutt Cartel Ober Jabba. You've got Embo and Skiffguard Lando with multiple Omicrons. Get into the new pirate team with Hondo. You could have a 3 Omicron character in SM33 along with the Omicron on, I believe it's Brutus. Is he the Yes, along with Brutus as well, who has an Omicron. So there's a couple of these teams that I feel they need to be testing the Territory War side of this as well, because I can tell you, and many of you will, back this up, going up against Ahsoka in GAC is far different than going up against that team in Territory Wars. And, the same thing with the Hondo situation, right? And these Relic Delta numbers, that 5 and 10% maybe feels okay with Grand Arena, where I'd argue a lot of us feel much more confident in counters. We're much more comfortable because you get to play it a lot more. You think you get 3, you play 9 GACs in a month. you only play 4 territory wars in a month. So we've played a lot more GAC. We feel a lot more confident in Grand Arena. The territory war side, not so much. So these thresholds, my one fear is, well, one of them is that, hey, we've not tested the territory war yet, and that's an area of the game that has far less, even just testing overall, because we play it a lot less. It's not as opportunistic as GAC is. So that's one area that I think does need to kind of get tested. That is an area that I do feel they need to adjust, fix, and take a look at, so we as a community feel some comfort over that. Now, the other side of this that, again, I still am kind of firmly in the camp of is I think the scalability scares me. And when I talk about scalability, how do these thresholds, these thresholds are kind of being adjusted, determined based off the 9 relics that exist right now. You think right now in the game, we've only got 9 relics. We do not yet have Relic 10 added into the game. So the 5% threshold from going from a Relic 9 to a Relic 8 feels okay. That 10% going from, Relic 9 to Relic 7, right? Those are kind of the thresholds that we've been able to test. Well, with Relic 10 getting added, how does that 5% feel? Because the thing you're going to have to keep in mind and remember is, let's use a character like Commander Luke Skywalker as an example. When Relic 10 gets added into the game, it's not just another level of Relic Delta, but there's also going to be a mastery gain. Where a character like Commander Luke, they don't yet have an Omicron that grants them additional mastery. So the Relic 10 on Commander Luke, like Commander Luke getting that damage penalty, or, the either way, right? Dealing less damage, taking more damage, and going up against a team that might be getting some mastery gains, that's going to pose a problem for scalability, that eventually, even if you get the same relic level Commander Luke as the team you're going up against, that mastery gain that some of these teams get is far different. And again, while that's primarily inside of GLs, there are plenty of non-galactic legends, like Dark Trooper Moff Gideon with his Omicron and Territory Wars, right? They're getting a 75% mastery gain. So there's definitely some room here that I think we need to figure out how those numbers feel in relation to, the scalability that, hey, 5% feels okay, but now we've added all this extra mastery, and now that 5% gap just feels insurmountable to teams that don't get a mastery bump. The other area that, again, I'm still kind of waiting for further clarification on is what datacrons have been tested. You think about last season, you had that Gungan datacron where it was, hey, if they have full health and protection, they deal 100% more damage. Or think about right now, the pirate datacron where is it? Pirates, if non-galactic legend allies have 50% or more turn meter, damage they receive is decreased by 75%. How does that datacron feel with all these other teams? That's the kind of stuff that I'm wondering, has this been tested enough that we feel these thresholds with the datacrons are, fair, accurate, or, what's maybe the right word? Tuned enough to where it's still potential for you to beat that team. Because right now, datacrons kind of play this role where they offer these boosts to teams for a period of time. Some of them, obviously, much more than others, like the Darkside Ray datacron, but still are counterable within a measure of difficulty, right? Do those thresholds now change that, hey, on top of the datacron, there's nothing to counter this team if you don't have the right relic levels? That's kind of one of the areas I'm going into. Now, with Relic Delta, again, we're going to go back to kind of the screen capture here and just kind of mention something else that's kind of weighing on my mind. This last point of, hey, I'm kind of nervous about what this means for the game moving forward. How does this impact guilds? And what I mean by guilds is a lot of the focus, I think, has been on, well, my GAC, my GAC, my GAC. But what about your guild? What about, and again, I mentioned Territory Wars earlier, but I have a fear that while there's a lot of players who've said, oh, I'm going to quit if Relic Delta happens, whether they own up to that. I mean, I think of all the celebrities in the United States that said they'd leave if Trump got elected president, and none of them did. So, come on, let's not do the empty threats. But, thinking through that process, it's not so much that I think players will leave as much as that, because of Delta, But maybe what will happen, and what I can see happening, is this is a big change to Territory War, that there could be guilds that disband because, hey, you know, and I'm just going to pick on Sigma Mandalorians here, my guild. Hey, you know, Fat Phil, he sucks. He doesn't have enough relic levels on his roster for us to be competitive in Territory War. So we've got to boot him out of the guild and get somebody in the guild who is better than him with Relic Delta. Well, now Fat Phil can't find a guild that's willing to bring him in because I don't have the Relic Delta, and now I quit because of that. Almost like, hey, I can't find a guild that's willing to bring me in and keep my rewards. That is a legitimate thing. I can't tell you how many times I've seen guilds fall apart, and there's players who were doing fine in that guild, who were perfectly capable of continuing on in the game, but they get booted from a guild, and then they're like, hey guys, I'm quitting. Because they just, you know, the guild is what keeps them going. That is an aspect that I think I'm more concerned with, because we're already seeing guilds that are struggling to maintain players. It is easier now than ever for players to get to that point where they can, hey, I want to join Fat Phil's guild, I want to join Egnard's guild, I want to join Caw Patrol. Because of the reduction to how much it costs to get some of these new things, that path is easier than ever. And guilds in that kind of mid-game range, or those, hey, we're just below Sigma Mandalorians, we still get good rewards. Those top-end players are now like, hey, I can actually get there, because they're, you know, spending that money. And I think that's going to be an issue with Relic Delta, is that it could really fracture some of those mid-level guilds that have some players who are pretty good, but, you know, hey, it's not worth moving up. Relic Delta might make that a reality. Now, first half of that video, kind of, hey, my fears. At the end of the day, Relic Delta is going to happen, right? It's happening. It is what it is. The one aspect that, again, I feel we keep glossing over with Relic Delta is that them adding it speaks volumes as to how they want the game to continue. This is now, whether or not I think it can scale long term, again, that's something that they're going to have to figure out. They believe it can. But it's at least a, hey, we are recognizing that we need to do something to keep the game going and moving forward for years to come, and this is the solution that they feel is adequate. And again, we can understand that context, we understand their direction, because they've told us that, right? We had that post. So don't feel like this is the death of Galaxy of Heroes, because it's not at all. While I think it could be very devastating, as long as it is rolled out in a way that's clear, that's concise, that they make it easier to get some of these relics, because I think part of where a lot of players feel scared is they see this 3 Relic Delta, they see this 4 Relic Delta and 5 Relic Delta, and it is scary, right? I'm not going to pretend it isn't. It 1000% is a scary situation. But we can at least, you know, make the case, make the argument that they're trying to do something to keep this game going for a long time. And that's something that I feel we should be taking and giving them credit for, is that this isn't some, hey, quick cash grab. This is, hey, we're planning this out long term. And bear in mind, guys, while we are oftentimes discussing Relic 10 and Relic Delta together, Relic Delta is not getting released because of Relic 10, and Relic 10 is not getting released because of Relic Delta. They are two separate things. Relic 10 is about allowing for further progression for those players in that end game. Relic Delta is about recognizing that we want you to be boosting up all levels of your account, and not just this small subset of stuff that you want to put Relic 10, Relic 9, and Relic 8 into. We want you to do that over everything. So at the end of the day, if there's anything you take away from this video, as much as there are some fears that I have and things that I still hope do get addressed, Territory War being one of them, I do think that overall, at the end of the day, it's important to recognize that this is something they're doing to keep the game going. And that is the most important thing to take away. When games stop putting stuff into the game, when updates stop happening, when stuff is not, when there's nothing going on, that's when the dark times happen. That's what happened with Loader Homie. There's actually another game, Lord of the Rings Rise to War, that I had played for a little bit of time. That game is going away, and when I read the posts about those, what you hear is new stuff stopped happening. They weren't getting updates. Nothing was changing. The devs were just kind of silent. And then, hey, game's folding. That's not what's happening here. I don't want you guys buying into the alarmist hysteria that, can happen sometimes with stuff like this. This game is going to be around for a while to come. And whether or not you like Relic Delta, you can at least appreciate that this game isn't going anywhere, and they're going to do everything they can to continue to make sure that this game stays afloat for as long as humanly possible. So guys, I hope this reaches you the way that I want. I hope this reaches you in a way that is, thought-provoking. Again, still showing that I am just as, fearful as some of you, but I can at least understand and I can accept, and I can begin to look forward to what I need to do to prepare my account for this. Because at the end of the day, it's coming. You've got to be prepared, right? I don't know how else to phrase it than that. I really appreciate you guys. Again, please like, subscribe, comment. I love you all. May the force be with you. And if you're still watching right now, go ahead in the comments. Wampa is king. You guys are the best. See you in the next one. Cheers, my friends.